Ah. Ah. Assalamu alaikum. So I just wanted to show you guys this little deal I got. I was driving home from town and somebody had a bunch of free boards laying on the side of the road, and I stopped and grabbed some. And I'll just show you how a lot of my buildings and pins are built free, basically, just from this type of thing. Whenever I see free boards, I always get them if I can, any type of free wood. And I just have an idea in my head of what kind of stuff I need. This stuff here is mostly cedar, and it burns really hot. We like to save it in a special pile for when it's really cold and we're trying to get it a little bit warmer in the bad winter time of year. So I brought these little short pieces, even though they're too short to really build anything out of. But like this one here is hardwood, and these are cedar. So they burn really hot. If I cut them up and just put a couple pieces in at a time, it'll bring the heat up in a quick hurry if we're chilly. So I brought them. And wasn't a lot of them, just that little bit there. And I got these here. This is hardwood here, and it was split, so I just went ahead and broke it in half. But both of these pieces will make excellent fence posts. And so, especially being that they're hardwood. And this is cedar. I could trim this angled part off, make it straight, and you also use this for a fence post if I wanted to. And these are hardwood here. This one's a little rough, but it would probably last for a little while. Maybe put some tar on the end that you're going to put in the ground. So I was just excited about my little find, and wanted to share that with you. And definitely, I don't advocate getting a bunch of junk and piling it up around your place, but definitely don't be too proud to stop and look at the free stuff. And a lot of times you'd be surprised at the goodies that you find that you could really need. So anyways, I just thought I'd share that with you. And there's actually a couple more up there I couldn't fit on here, so I'm gonna unload these and try to go back and get them. Hopefully they'll still be there when I get there. Assalamu alaikum. So this evening it's nice out, and I thought just until it gets dark I would work on putting up a fence for the goats. I've just had enough of trying to keep them out of the garden, and I've actually wanted to put up a fence for a couple years now, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So I thought while I did that, I'd show you guys how I put up fence, and maybe you guys can learn something from me, or maybe you can teach me something I'm not doing right. But come along and I'll show you how I do it. So this is the fence that I'm using. It's sheep and goat fencing. And I'm not sure exactly how many feet is on this roll. I think 300 or 350, I'm not sure. But it costs about $270 for this roll. And The area I want to fence in is this area here. And it goes from here, this corner here, just to show you how deep it is. And this corner here, all the way down. To about here. And that's my property line just beyond there, this way. So this wire I put up initially, I was going to put horses over here. We'll just have an alternate pin for the horses so I can switch them out, out of this pin. That was before I decided to raise goats. So this side has got barbed wire on it, and I don't think it would keep them in. So what I'm going to do, rather than take the barbed wire down, I'll just run wire right over top of it and nail it down. I think they can get through like areas like this. They can squeeze right through that. But anyways, that's the depth of the pin. And what I did to make my row was I took this string here and ran it all the way down to that T-post down there. And that way I put my, that way my posts would be in a straight line. Dug those all out. I mowed around them with the mower. And so now my next step is actually going to be stretching the wire. Oh, one thing I want to point out on this, very important, very important when you're putting up fence, your corner braces, you want to make sure that they are really buried good, because if your corner braces aren't solid, your fence is going to tip over as soon as you put pressure on it. So you want to make sure that those are cemented in if possible, or if not, then you want to dig them really deep and make sure that they don't move at all, because the fence is always under pressure, and the only thing that's keeping that fence taut is them corners. So I put my corner braces in like this, and I usually wedge a 2x4, 2x6, 2x8, something thick in there, so that it keeps them from moving, keeps them sturdy at the top there. And then this I would wrap around the top here, and you make it into a loop. So it goes around there, and then you put a board in it and twist it so it's taut. And that also helps kind of keep the whole thing tight, to help withstand the pressure from the fence. And as I go along, you'll see what I mean by the pressure from the fence. But our first step, I'm going to go ahead and I've got the wire rolled out, which I actually did probably a week ago, and I put a brick on it so it won't just curl up real fast. But what we're going to do today is just nail this up and try stretching it tight for this side. So my first step was to unroll it, and we're going to take the end here and nail it to our corner brace here, and I'll show you what to do from there. So what I did is I took this fence stretcher here, and I got this from Tractor Supply originally, and I hooked this single horse evener. It's kind of junky, so I had this laying around, and I put a piece of dog chain around it and hooked it to the end of there, and just ratcheted my fence tight, as tight as I could get it, until the rake actually started shifting over. So even if you had like a vehicle, like you could hook it to the bumper of your truck or something, or to a post, anything that just won't move or break with the weight, and just something to ratchet it tight like that. And I put that post there to keep it from tipping over. And now basically what I have to do is nail it up. So I wish I could get it just a little bit tighter, but it's pretty tight. I think it'll do. It kept slipping off the rake, and I don't really have anything else over there, no tree or anything to fasten it to stretch it tighter. But I think it's tight enough if I put enough staples in here. So basically my next step would be to just nail the wire tight. I would start at this far end and make sure it's tight all the way down. And also we want to make sure for the goats that this here is all the way to the ground as much as possible, because they will try to push under it, they'll try to climb over it, whatever they can do to get out. Goats are just something else. They'll, you know, climb the highest mountain to get out if they can. So you just have to plan for all that when you're putting up the fencing. But this is how far I've gotten, and I don't think I'm going to finish. It's just getting too dark and mosquitoes are kind of bad. So this is where we at. I got this end nailed down here. And so tomorrow I'll come out and I'll start right here and just nail this thing taut all the way down. And we'll pick up from there. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Like I said, your two main things is you want to make sure that your corner braces are tight, you know, and movable. That's the secret, to make sure them corners there, those corner braces are the key. Like I say, if I can, I even cement them in just to make sure that they don't move, and then your fence will not slack. Because otherwise when you're ratcheting it tight, if those corner braces are loose, they'll lean in, and then your fence will never get tight. It'll just keep slacking and slacking. So that's a very important thing to remember. And the other thing is, I didn't put a lot of stress on this, and now I'll reiterate this later maybe, but it's important to run a string from this end to that end before you put these individual posts in the center, because they all have to be in a line so that the wire is touching them all at the same time. Because if these, you know, if this post doesn't line up with that post, you know, there'll be a gap in the wire like this, and you know, it'll be harder to get it tight. So you want to make sure that your posts are relatively in a straight line so that the wire touches all the posts at the same time. It is about Maghrib time, so I'm gonna go pray Maghrib, and I'll holler at you guys later. Peace. So Pete asked, how do we deal with trash? So I thought I'd make this little video to show exactly how we do deal with the trash. So living off the grid. I definitely, one thing I don't do for sure is recycle trash. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's just a little bit inconvenient for me where I'm living right now. I think there is some place in town at the church, one of the churches in town, where you can take stuff to recycle it, but I'm not 100% sure, and I just don't have time to do it. I'd just as soon do what I'm getting ready to do with it. So what we do is just burn it. We don't we do actually go through it a little bit
and try to burn just the paper stuff. A lot of times in the winter, we use the paper stuff to get the fire going in the house, and also in the wash house, or soon hopefully in my workshop. But anything that's kind of like heavy plastic, if it's usable, we will try to reuse it, like as feed dishes. For example, like a juice container like that, anything like this, we would keep it. Just gonna put it to the side for a minute until I get this empty. And it is legal to burn trash here in this part of Michigan where I live. So that's the primary way that we dispose of our trash, is we just bring it out here to our little dump and set it on fire. That has, and actually after it burns up, periodically we'll go through and pick up if there's any metal or anything like that. We'll come back through and pick up any metal that's left over after the fire's been burned, and we will usually take that to save it for scrap metal, put it in the scrap pile, and eventually it gets taken to the dump. So now comes the fun part. I think that for some people this is probably not a very orthodox method of getting rid of trash. I'm sure if you're living in the city, probably you can't do this. But trash is, picking up is expensive, and from what I've heard in the city. But this is pretty much, this is how we do it here out in the country. And all growing up, my dad had a burn barrel, burned barrels. We also had a pit in our farm in the cow pasture way in the back out by the woods. We had a pit where we'd basically do the same thing here and just burn the I better get my chocolate litter as well. But anyways, that sums it up. And it did rain yesterday pretty good, so hopefully the ground is wet enough. I don't believe it's going to go anywhere, but I do have a big tub of water over there in case it wants to get out of hand. I'll just keep my eye on it, but generally it just burns right up, and it's been burned in that spot so many times black right around the edge there. But anyways, that's how we do it. How do you guys deal with your trash?